You're
It's playing?
yeah, it's playing. You're on the air.
How come I'm not hearing nothing?
I don't know.
Got it.
Got it?
.3 WYBC, the rhythm of the city and home of the Juan Castillo Morning Show. Good morning to the beautiful city of New Haven and the gorgeous state of Connecticut. This is Moving Target Radio. I hope you are starting your day off right. And if not, you're one thought away from turning that around right now. All right? So joining me is, of course, my brother Remedy Sharif. What's good, bro?
Peace and blessings, peace and blessings.
And guest co-host for today, Brother Bourne. What's good?
Piece of power, families.
Let's make sure you're talking to the mic there, brother.
Piece of power, piece of power.
All right, cool,
All
cool.
right,
So I want to just, I'm going to start the show off, man, with my announcement, you know, which is Us. Us. You need to go see Us, bro. Bren, did you see it yet?
Nah, I haven't seen it.
All right, you didn't see it, Brother Bourne. You said that you said your daughter already criticized it, so you're already saying, like, it's already whack.
No, I said I ain't even sitting in the ball.
You're already like, it's whack. You know, Brother Bourne will go against the grain on everything, man. Look, the sun is out. The sun ain't really out. And we also have some special guests, which you will meet them soon. But I want to you saw it, right? All right. You want to make sure you speak to the mic too. Make sure we hear that beautiful voice. All right. So Us is amazing. It's amazing for me, and I really, if you are the person who is like, nah, either it's like Get Out or I don't want to see it. If you're that person, I just don't. You're the same person that would debate with me that Tyler Perry films are just like these Scorsese type films. Like, no, they not. No, they not. All right.
So you might be in a sunken place.
You straight up,
You know.
straight up. You might be in a sunken place if you're gonna come to me and say, oh well, if you feel like it needs to be like Get Out, then you know you're just one of those listeners, those audience members. You know.
Robots.
But for me,
He's
when
a
I look at
robot.
film, I want to look at messages. I want to look at lighting, acting, storyline, character development, and I wanted him to give me an experience that was completely different from Get Out.
Well, I can't wait to see Us because the last movie I've been to was Boomerang.
Really? Before you didn't see Get Out in the movie theater?
No,
Oh, okay.
I was in a sunken place.
So you you haven't seen any movies in the movie theater since Boomerang?
Since Boomerang, no, I'm lying. Yeah,
I'm about to say, man, come on, bro.
Yeah,
But no, Us was amazing. I'm not giving away nothing else. I could just say I need to go see it a second time because there's so many layers. There, like, there's so many conversations I could have off of that movie, from trauma to, I mean, just everything.
It's deep.
Us, United States of America. Man, listen, don't get me started, bruh.
I might go see it.
You need to go see it.
On this beautiful Super Saturday.
Yes. You gotta go see that. So I want to just go over the hot topic of the week real quick before we get into our discussion. The hot topic, other than the racist teacher in Hamden who, flipped on somebody in East Haven.
They wilding out.
Yeah, they wild.
They're immigrants.
That was just one teacher that got caught.
Yeah,
You know, let's
the
just be clear
immigrants are in a
about
whole
that.
different space, man.
But
Yeah.
I want to talk about this something that everybody was upset about, which was Meek Mill's getting key to the state.
Mm.
So you felt some type of way about that.
Yeah, man.
So just to bring people up to speed real quick, Quinnipiac University had something that they did in regards to prison reform, criminal justice reform.
Mm-hmm.
Van Jones and Lewis Reed, who was on the show, is a huge advocate for that. Does a lot of great work on legislation with Van Jones, with the organization Cut 50. And then Meek Mills and Jay-Z, along with some other people, put some money together, $50 million to be exact, into an organization called Reform. And Reform was for the same purpose, for the, reforming the criminal justice system. And so, Van Jones and Lewis Reed, supposed to be Meek Mills, came to Quinnipiac University. Meek Mills was not at this meeting. A whole bunch of other people from the state were there. It was a great time with unity and everything. So salute to those brothers for what they're doing.
For sure.
And then somehow, after that, maybe because Meek performed later on that day or something, somehow after that, Meek was awarded the key to the state.
Yo, and ain't that something? Yo, how do you think that made Lewis Reed feel? And Lewis Peace, bro. You know what I mean? You listening?
He probably didn't care.
You from?
No,
He probably didn't care. But at the same time, you from Bridgeport, Connecticut. And you like, yo, this brother is from. Oh, you feel he getting the keys to my state as much work than I done? Come
Right.
on, man, it's a problem.
Well, let me ask you this. It is a problem. Don't get me
It's a
wrong. I think
problem.
people should be upset.
Yeah.
And be like, really? We got Barbara Fair.
Yes.
We got a lot of people out there
Fair,
that could have got.
all day.
But I guess my question is, before Meek got the key to the state, weren't we already giving him attention and support over people in our own city and state?
For sure.
Like, weren't we already doing that?
Well, so where you going with that? Make that.
I'm just saying that, we're upset that we offered Meek acknowledgement, love, support, right? But we don't really do that with our own people in our own state.
Right. Don't
know?
support him at all. For the most part, man, we don't see it.
I mean, that's a key that
Yeah.
represents.
What is that? Does that mean you can come walk in your house anytime you want? And you mean you got the key to the state?
You'll be
what is
lucky
that?
if you get a key to your apartment in this city, right?
Yeah, what does that really mean, man? It's really like a slap in the face of everybody that really put in work, man. And then what's even more upsetting is the people that are upset about this thing, like you're saying, and they don't support nobody.
Yeah.
Like, who can you really be mad at?
Well, some of the questions that came up to me, and I was like, wow, you don't know? And a lot of people were asking, well, who else is doing stuff with Reform?
Right.
Who else is doing? And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Right.
There's so many people doing work with criminal justice reform. Really good work.
And then the money that they've raised doesn't even touch Connecticut.
Well, the money to the reform organization. No,
Right.
it doesn't.
Doesn't even
That's,
touch Connecticut.
It's New York and Pennsylvania.
Yeah, man. So
Yeah.
it's like, hold up, man. Who they give the key to? And then the clip when they asked Meek if the people come for you, we talking about the other immigrants, the jars of mayo, as some people like, yo, if they come for you, you gonna chill? And Meek said, yo, I'm falling back.
Yeah, he did say that on the Breakfast Club.
If they come for me and tell me to stop, I'm falling back. I'm in it for, yo, are you serious, man?
Yeah, he did say
I'm
that.
saying he ain't in it for, yo, listen, man, he in for his own self-aggrandizement, man. Own self-aggrandizement, man. I can shine off of this. That's what Meek in on this.
Right.
It's
Image.
Yeah, exactly. It's an image, you know what I'm saying? Exactly. It's an image, you know what I'm saying? Image booster.
No doubt.
And plus he in with a lot of different politicians from different areas. We realize that we running on a real hot presidential election coming up. So we got a lot of agendas being pushed. So we need Negroes out there making sure Democrats get voted for.
Yeah.
And a brother like Meek Mill is the right Negro to have out there so you can get younger Negroes to come on and vote Democrat.
Yeah, yeah.
That's sad,
when
yo.
it comes down to actually doing that work, no, he's not doing it. And yes, we should be doing, but along with that, we have to look at ourselves and see, well, what support do we show others? I mean, that's a key. Support and attention, that's the new currency.
How you gonna get a key to somebody that ain't even there to take it? How that make the governor feel?
Well, he was there to
Whoever
receive that. He just wasn't. He wasn't there at the meeting of what it was all about. He wasn't
Okay,
there.
but he was there to receive the key.
Yeah, of course.
It's probably a skeleton key.
He probably forgot about it later on that day. Like, oh yeah, I did get the key to
He
that.
probably dropped it in the drain, leaving
No.
Connecticut.
Oh.
Yeah.
Connecticut is usually just a stop on the tour, so
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
yeah.
So that's the topic of the week that I know we wanted to address. You know what I mean. So yes, be offended, but at the same time, know who's in your city and in your community doing the work. Yo, a like and a share online means everything to people who have their own business or their own organization.
Absolutely.
You know, a donation to a GoFundMe. Find out what that is. You know, because if you're upset about that key being given to Meek, then, you know, also be upset the fact that you didn't support somebody else.
And we give so much. We give so much everywhere else. Outside of our state, outside of our own communities. Like, one thing I'm happy about myself about is that when I'm going to get a lot of things now, I'm trying to consciously be focused on Googling and seeing if it's a black-owned business that I can go get that from. Before I just run out and go to Stop and Shop or Walmart or whatever. And I've been really trying to be conscious about that.
That's a good move.
So, you know, we can do it.
So, yeah, so that's our hot topic of the week. All right, salute to Meek Mills anyway, regardless, you know, and let's just support our own. All right. So, today we are talking about the dangers black women face in America with being pregnant or giving birth and what we can do about it. So, I just want to give context to how I came across this. Salute to Brother Bourne for sending me this this post, which was called the Testicular Bill of Rights. Yes, the Testicular Bill of Rights package, which is a proposed bill by Georgia lawmaker, Democratic State Representative Darshun Kendrick. I'm hoping I'm saying her name right. And she seeks to regulate male bodies. All right, so let me just lay out real quick what the bill is proposing. Require men to obtain permission from their sex partner before they are able to obtain prescription for Viagra or any erectile dysfunction medication, which I thought, isn't that a good thing? Like, that you have to get permission for that?
Yeah.
I thought that was something that, like, no, listen, I have to take this, so because you know that, I'm gonna do what I gotta do, my due diligence to make sure you're good.
You're going too far.
No,
Yeah.
all right.
You don't need that.
All right. So, along with that, aggravated assault for not having sex or for having sex without a condom. And also required to take a DNA test when a woman is 6 weeks to determine the father or the child who shall immediately start paying child support. Immediately. All right. So I don't know about y'all fellas, but I think it's safe to say that this is crazy and problematic. But I respect her because she did it to make a statement. All right. And she drafted this and is proposing this in response to what she contests is the regulation of women's wombs. So I had to see what she was talking about. One of our guests that's on the show brought it to my attention that, well, you know, this is wrong. And just as much as we might look at that and say, whoa, that's a problem, we also have to look at how this is already happening with women. Insane, right? So I want to welcome our guest, Frida Grant. How you doing?
Hey, good morning.
Thank you for coming back.
Thank you for having me.
Just speak a little more.
Thank you for having me again.
Again, yeah, we did like a 5-part series on toxic masculinity and
Right.
all that stuff, so that was great. All right, and I want to make sure I get your name right, Hafisa Touré. All right, how you doing? So thank you for joining me, Hafisa. I know you have great experience on not necessarily being a doula, even though you're very experienced in that, but also just on making sure the experience of women giving birth is healthy. And Frida, I know you're very versed on just the legislation and a lot of the things that are going on in society that make it very difficult for black women giving birth in America.
Right, absolutely.
So I want to just start with the legislation.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just get that out the way. What are some things that are going on in legislation that contribute? And just so I'm clear, I want to make sure everybody knows, one of the statistics that I found that made this a topic was the fact that 243%, black women are 243% more likely to die from pregnancy or childbirth related causes.
That's wild.
243%. I've searched numerous statistics, numerous stats, videos, blogs, and they all have the same statistic.
That's wild.
So I know there's a lot of reasons to this, and I'm going to start with the legislation. What is going on with legislation? What are some laws that are in right now that contribute to women having this issue?
Sure. So I want to just
Having this issue.
Sure. So I want to just say, like, the first thing with like legislations and policy, right? In order to get them passed, first thing you need is money, and then you need buy-in, right? So I think that's like a good thing to kind of just put on the table when we're talking about these things. But like current legislations right now, or just policies. So you mentioned, men having to seek permission for their wives before they were to get to Viagra. If you're married right now, I know in the state of Connecticut and other states, and you want to get your tubes tied, you need to get permission from your husband. He needs to agree to that as well, So there's other policies that say, like right now, in certain states they're trying to say that at the start of conception, that's where life begins, right? So looking at like terminations and things like that, and they're trying to hold women accountable. And some places want to even charge them with a crime if they were to seek like pregnancy terminations and things like that before a specific time period, because in their minds, like, life starts at conception. So we have this on one end where we can be like, well, hold on a second, well, let's talk about this. But when they're saying for men at 6 weeks, you would be 6 weeks of pregnancy, you would be paying child support, right? And we're like, no, that's wrong, that's wild, that's wrong. But we're doing the same thing to women right now. Like, there's policies that determine who can get access to birth control, policies that determine whether or not you can get funding for like breastfeeding or maternal health and things like that. So like these policies are already on the floor right now. There's I forget what state it is. I know Mississippi is trying to incorporate like the heartbeat clause, and so once there's a heartbeat, you can't seek like reproductive things like that. But then there's other states right now that are saying, like, let's say if a woman wants to have her pregnancy terminated, she needs to get permission from the father, whether they're married or not. So like there's instances where I remember one case I was reading, the woman and the guy were not together, and she was saying that she was just not in a place, like physically, mentally, to have this child. He was trying to take her to court to have it contested that she go through with that pregnancy. So you think about things like that, and like, yes, like this is a child in another life and things like that, but then just like not having agency over your body. And I think like that's the thing that's frustrating and upsetting, because for Black women in particular, we have a long-standing history of not having agency, or our agency of our bodies being stripped away and being exploited for whether it's political means, social means, or even cultural stuff within our community, which I go back to again, right? The way policy goes through is money and backup, and a lot of these times you have men in these spaces having these conversations about women and women's bodies and what they should do and what they shouldn't do, and like ultimately, like, we're the ones who have to bear the brunt of that, and which is why you see like maternal health and all the other things, and like the death rates, and just even women being sick and not knowing like what to do and who to go, and like knowing like what services they can access because of these issues.
That is insane.
Yeah, it is, and access is one of the main issues. So you have legislation, right, and then the access or lack of access. But then you have somebody like Cardi B or even Serena Williams, plenty of access. So what, and both of you could chime in. We actually have another guest who just joined us. You want to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. I'm sorry, I'm getting over a cold. My name's Autumn Carpinga, and I am a licensed social worker, and I'm also a postpartum doula.
Okay, great, thank you. And I think you guys could probably take this, or you all can probably take this answer, or this question. When it comes to somebody like a Serena Williams, who has more than enough access, she's educated, she has money, she still felt as though I almost died. How does that happen? What's going on?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with there's a term, implicit bias. Okay? So we go into these work institutions, hospitals, and we are serviced by people who don't look like us. And in doing so, certain things are assumed. Right? So this is a woman, and it crosses all socioeconomic lines. She's educated, she has money, she's well known, but when she comes to her healthcare provider and tells them something's not right, they still don't listen to her. And she knows her body. She's an athlete, so she knows if anything is wrong. I'm sure she's even more acutely aware of it than the average person.
Are they thinking like because you're a Black woman, you can take pain more?
Well, there are those assumptions. But in addition to that, it's the It's the lack of priority.
Right.
So it doesn't even matter whether or not you can take pain. It's just you are not high on the priority list as far as what's going on in this institution and how we're going to treat you.
Yeah. Did you want to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to say there's more articles coming out, and I just read one like a week ago that like historically how we worded this is basically just that African American women, like there's something wrong inherently with African American women, and that's why the maternal death rates are high and the infant mortality death rates are high. And what I think is really powerful is really looking at that part and reframing it. And what more people are saying now, like no, there's nothing at all wrong inherently with African American women. It is racism and it is implicit bias. And implicit bias is really that when we think about racism, we often think about people that are blatantly racist and make blatantly racist comments. Unfortunately, we don't. I feel like we live in a society now where most people don't outwardly feel that way, right? But because of our society and our culture and the way that African American women and families of color are portrayed, we have these long-term biases that we're not conscious of, and these people that are well-meaning people that might not be, most of them, right, not at all blatantly racist people, are the ones perpetuating it through this unconscious bias that we have. And so we really need to call that out. But I think it's really important that no, there's nothing inherently wrong or different about African American women. It is how they are perceived, and it is that racism is at the root of it.
Was when I was researching was obstetric violence.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about that, Frida, of what that is?
Sure. Right. So I think. Sure. Right. So I think this is a good space to kind of go back and look at like the history of like OBGYN and how it relates to like Black women. So there's a doctor, and his name is J. Marion Sims, and he's like heralded as like the father of gynecology, right? And a lot of his surgery and research was done off of his slaves, right? So his enslaved Black women, and he was, conducting like gynecological procedures on them. One, they weren't able to consent because they didn't have agency, and two, just even without, any sort of like anesthetic or things like that. And what was interesting was that he did this based off the argument that, Black women didn't feel pain. So you put that narrative down there, and then you add it with like other narratives with like, Mammy, Sapphire, Jezebel, and put all that together. And like, this is medicine and modern medicine. And it just continues to perpetuate, whether you're a Serena Williams or whether you're a Cardi B or anything like that, like where you have to go and, almost kind of like prove that your humanity, like when you're going into these spaces. And I would argue that a lot of times it's not intentional at this point, but like you said, it's implicit bias, and like these are just the things that we're thought about. Because even just look at like victimhood, right? A white woman can come in here and cry, or be like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with her? Where like Black women, even within our communities, we have this expectation that you have to be strong and you can put up with it and it's okay. And like these narratives and these things impact us when we're going into the doctor's office or just going out to seek medical care.
Yeah.
I'm tight right now.
You should be.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And we're going to talk about the role that men play in really being able to help this, and do something about that. We're going to talk about that. But I also want to go into, so we have access, which is an issue. We have the treatment. What are some common themes as well, like that you've heard from women in their experience in hospitals, or even you yourself that you might have had, that are common themes that you were treated unfairly?
So I think there's a few overall themes. I think one is, and as a social worker in different, I've worked in hospitals before, so I've seen, so I've worked with a lot of different women, different income brackets, different ethnic groups, and I think one of the common things that I saw with women of color is there's a lot of, new programs or things that want to be tested out, and it's almost always 100% the lower income women, whether they be white, whether they be Black, whatever. It's always the lower income women where these programs are kind of carried out. And I can't necessarily say 100% without consent. Someone might be going in the room and talking about it, but it's often presented as if there is no option. And when you don't know, yes. So there was one time in this happened a few times. Like programs after a baby is born, right? So those are big things, like helping assistance for families, but specifically more like lower income women. Here's assistance to help, learn more about baby development, infant development, things like that, infant mental health. And but a lot of times these programs would just go in and make assumptions, or go in and maybe screen these families ahead of time without them knowing. So really what we're doing, they're asking us to do, what we'd be asking people in the program to do, would be to like pre-screen these families based on assumptions or based on a few things we see on the chart, and then go and offer them the service that they probably are not going in and offering, or heavily saying basically you need this because X, Y, and Z to other women or other white women, that might be in a higher income bracket, or that might be nurses, doctors, and things like that. And so again, it's not that couldn't be a great help and a great assistance, but I think the point is that a lot of these things are presented in the hospital, and when you go to give birth, there's a lot of things that as soon as you enter that hospital setting, they're not presented as options. And everything, all your medical care, when you think about anything else, if you were going for like a foot surgery, you could have the surgery, you could opt not to have the surgery, like this. But when it comes to birth and maternity care, and specifically for lower income and women of color, things are really presented as, no, you need to do this, and if you don't do this, like, you're awful, or you're a bad mom, or so things really aren't presented in a way that empowers families, or that lets them make choices. And then I would say the second thing I notice a lot is you would be absolutely shocked. I mean, your mouths would be wide open if you heard just some of the words and the language that these medical professionals use.
Really?
Specifically with women of color. I work a lot with teen moms, and so lots of assumptions there, especially if they're a teen mom that's a woman of color, about what they know and what they don't know, and like, you need to listen, do this, or you're harming your baby. I mean, it's really
similar to
your mouths would be just.
Is it because a lot of us, and I say women and men, but people of color, lower income, whatever the case may be, it's just because we've been just point blank too compliant with them?
Well, I mean, it sounds like from when I was watching Mahafa 21, it's a documentary on the genocide of black people, and it talks about birth control union. Before Planned Parenthood was Planned Parenthood, and you had Margaret Sanger, birth control union, and how these doctors would speak to the young women who were saying that they used words like feeble-minded and certain code language. So it seems like it's the same thing, and it's been going on for so many years, and it's so ingrained that they just changed the language.
And I think we can look at like structures of power, and like the way that privilege is used, because I don't think it's like a young thing. I think it's just like a people of color thing sometimes, where it has kind of been like ingrained in us that we have to like respond appropriately to like structures of power, or you can't ask questions, because if you ask questions, then that's deemed like disrespectful or inappropriate or things like that. And a lot of these things, like especially depending on where you are, they're punitive, right? So there's punishments attached to them. So you may not want to go out and ask questions about certain things. So I'm thinking about like the policies that certain places have, where if you want to be able to receive like welfare benefits and you have a certain number of kids, they're going to make you get on some form of birth control and do things like that. And like if you're in a space where like your well-being, right, and the way that you're assisting and like caring for your family is directly tied to you getting your tubes tied, and you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's like, what, I need to do this right now because this is what's important, So I think like a lot of these times, like we want to say that people need to not be compliant and like fight back against that system, but depending on where you are and like sometimes what resources are tied to it, it could be almost like a life or death thing, and that kind of makes me uncomfortable.
And can I just real quick, and I always say it every time when we talk about these things, man, that affect us so much. The system that is in place is not for us. It is absolutely broken, and we need to create our own system, our own society. I just want to throw that in there.
Well, that's the whole
because I'm tight.
The point of every show is to figure out what we need to do to own our own, to create our own.
And I feel bad. And I feel bad because as a man of color, as a black man, my consciousness never went that deep in to understand what you all go through, yo. You know what I mean? On certain levels, I can think how we thought about women. We know when women go to car places, the man at the garage will try to take advantage of them.
Yeah.
So we know these different things, and you know we'll be on front. We'll be on front for that. Like, yo, I'm out here. But when y'all are going to the hospitals and things like that, man, it's a whole nother level.
And it's more than even just the hospital. So I wanted to segue into, please, yeah.
And not because, and not because this is what's going on. We got cultural acceptability. You know what I mean? Culturally, it's acceptable to listen to those who are quote unquote in authority, those who you deem to be more intelligent than you. And we have to understand that as the black community as a whole, we look at ourselves as less than. We speak of ourselves as minorities, and when we speak of ourselves in this mannerism, when you go to people who you can look at as an authority, you're going to take it as that. You're not going to ask questions, as the young queen was saying. You're not going to ask that because you don't think it's acceptable to ask questions. It's not that you are in fear. You don't think that it's the right way for you to do that.
Right.
You know, and so those are the things that we're dealing with right now.
And even on a subconscious level.
Yeah, no,
it's just ingrained.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's your culture. Our culture dictates that you listen to what the authority says and have no question, or there is consequences, dire consequences, which could lead to death if you ask the wrong question in the wrong setting.
Right.
And even though right now in 2019, you might not die because of the question, but you still are ingrained with the thought of 1919 that you might die from that question.
Yeah.
And that's what's going on. I think that, you know, it's a balance that got to be struck between how much are we going to fear, you know, fear death from the outsider, or fear death from our own lack of wanting to do something.
No, we got to take our lives out of their hands, period, point blank, yo.
Yeah, and that's a great point. And that's a great point to also to help segue into, you know, our doulas and our midwives, you know, who are in the building, to be able to give us some insight on what can we begin to do to create a better experience, you know. And speaking with you, Afiza, you know, you spoke with me about how your childbirth went. You want to talk about what made it so pleasant?
Yes. So I think I have, just in conversations, my experience has been very different than the statistics. I've had 3 children,
which is a blessing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I'm here, to be an advocate and to be a voice to the reality that there is another way. So I have 3 children. All 3 of my children were born outside the hospital. I was fortunate enough to have a black midwife. I was fortunate enough to have black doulas. So I have women who surrounded me and supported me in this process that look like me and genuinely care about me.
Was this through the whole about the time of delivery?
Both. So you have your birth team. So you have your midwife who you see from the beginning to end once you find out you're pregnant, as opposed to going to an OB. So what I found out when I first became pregnant was that most people don't know their options. When I came into this, up until the time I got pregnant, I assumed, you know, you find out you're pregnant, you go to the hospital, you get your OB, you take tests, you know, go on your regular visits, and you go to the hospital and have a baby. In addition to that cesarean sections were a normal thing. Most of the women in my family had cesarean sections, so it wasn't like, you know, you could prevent this, that.
It really does seem normal.
It does.
When I hear about C-section happening, I'm like, all right.
I've seen one myself.
For it, right?
Yeah.
Like you schedule a C-section. Some women do that. So for me, I definitely wanted to have a different experience. I was in a situation where I was supported in that. My children's father was on board, so it wasn't about, you know, fighting people to change their opinions. I think the women around me probably were more worried. And that's where I got that energy of, you sure about this? Like, you really not? Because you need to be in the hospital. What if this, that, and the other? And I was working at a hospital as an accountant. But they were like, we're going to go upstairs and have a baby. No.
So what did you say to that? You know, and that was something I wanted to bring up as far as for women who choose to have natural births. You know, there is that concern, that fear that if something happens, you know, how do I now handle it? I have to go to a hospital.
Well, the statistics say that more can happen in the hospital than me having a birth at home. If 200 and some odd % of black women are, you know, negatively impacted by going to the hospital to have a child, then the percentage is much less when it's a mother-centered hospital. So for me, it was that whole shift in I've been doing for millennia. My body is designed for this. So it was empowering me. So when I came in a situation, I'm not looking to other people to direct me, to say, you know, you have to do X, Y, and Z, and this is where you need to be at this time, and oh, now it's time for you to go in. No. I educated myself, read books, made sure my nutrition was on point. I think one of the key things is making sure it's not a high-risk pregnancy, because that would have ruled me out altogether. I couldn't have birth at home if I'm high risk.
How do you know if you're, I mean, I know that this is knowledge that most people have, most women know this, but wouldn't you need to go to the hospital to know if you're high risk?
Well, unfortunately, it isn't the information that most women have, and that's where we have to take a step back as a community and say, look, we need to be teaching our daughters this from youth, like childhood, before you're even considering having a baby. What are the things we need to be doing for ourselves?
Boys too.
I'm talking about female, male, it crosses all boundaries. This is a family issue. It's not about women's health. It's about us as a community and families. Because men are impacted by this as well. And
Yeah.
we need your support. We need your advocacy. We need you to be on board with and understanding this process and how we make decisions around vaccines. Just different things that we don't need
Absolutely.
arguments about. Like, we all need to be on the same page supporting this process. And when it comes to pregnancy and women, we are in the most vulnerable state we can possibly be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's why when we go to this hospital, like, we're talking just to piggyback on that. How do they get us to make these decisions? They put fear in us. We're already in a vulnerable space. If you tell me I don't get this Pitocin or I don't accelerate my labor, my child is going to die, that's not language that needs to take place when you're having a baby.
Especially when you're vulnerable.
I just want to interject because I did have 2 high-risk pregnancies and 2 C-sections, and I think that, like, I agree, right? And, like, as I've gotten older, like, I think back on, like, certain things, and it's like, wow, like, I wish, like, I was able to have, like, that experience, right? Because birth was just presented completely different, and I look at, like, my friends who, you know, experienced vaginal birth and all that stuff, and I'm like, oh, okay, wow, where mine was like, okay, this is what it is, and I think sometimes you're in such, like, panic that, like, I just didn't have time to process that. But with my older daughter, I ended up with high blood pressure, and it wasn't even because of, like, body stature. I was tiny then, you know, I was 18, I was small, and I ended up having an emergency C-section at 27 weeks, you know. So in situations like that, it's like, okay, so you don't have that option to do anything else, because at this point it's like, what are we going to do to make sure that this child survives, you know? And prior to me even having her, I was in the hospital for 2 weeks before she was delivered. But then I think, like, what can be done from our community standpoint, and then just also, like, in these spaces, is like having somebody there who can, like, let you know, like, the appropriate questions to ask, and let you know, like, what you can do and offer you that support. So luckily for me, like, I got a grandma from down south, so, like, just certain things I was able to, like, receive. But, you know, just simple things like not knowing that you could breastfeed still, even though your baby's preemie. You know, like, that wasn't something that was presented to me. It was, oh no, you need to give her this amount of formula that was $30 a can back then because she needed those calories. Fast forward to 2011 when I had my other daughter, I was significantly older, and it was like, okay, hold on a second. So you can breastfeed, right? When you have a premature baby, you can just pump. Like, there's so many other options. So I think, like, sometimes we present things where it just has to be in, like, a binary conversation. It's like either you choose this or you choose that, and you're wrong. And I think, like, what we need to really start doing is, like, looking at, like, ways that we can, like, empower both men and women who are giving birth, or just choosing, like, reproductive health, so they feel like they can ask questions, so they feel like they can get informed consent. Because at the end of the day, it's about, like, people feeling empowered and people feeling like they have agency. And from a group of people who systematically and culturally, like, their agency has been stripped away, I think the most important thing that we should be doing is trying to find ways every day to, like, incorporate putting agency back.
And we need to seriously build a culture of trust with each other. And that's one of the biggest things, that we don't trust each other. It's like, you know what I mean, it's hard for another woman to talk to another woman when we damn near almost don't trust ourselves, man.
I think, you know, to that point, as far as for men, you know, us knowing that the time that we realize, okay, we're having a child, that whole experience from before, you know, during pregnancy, and then even post, knowing that there's post-traumatic stress. And I know I've read a lot of stories where a lot of women went untreated, nobody followed up on them, and a lot of them died. You know, a lot of them got sick. We only have a couple of minutes left, so
All right,
I'm going to give you the last thought, and then I want to talk about what your organization is doing.
All right, I wanted to add on this because, we're talking about birth. There's a lot of things that can be done pre getting pregnant because, first of all, our health is one of the things that a reason why a lot of our women, lower income, black and brown, I'm going to use those terms, the politically correct terms, but lower income and black and brown women, normally they are bombarded with a lot more unhealthy choices. One of the things that from research that I found, and I wanted to ask them, especially the queen who just, who had children, about whether or not they use a lot of these chemicals, the hair relaxers, the dyes, these different toxins that we know right now definitely affect your reproductive organs directly. We see this time and time again that this is something that is especially put out into the black community. A lot of the things that our women use as beauty products are things that also are harming them in reproduction. And I think that if we have a real conversation about those things, a lot of these deaths in birth go with women who are over bleeding. They're just bleeding out.
They don't know.
Give y'all a chance to answer that, and then also talk about, as briefly as you can, your organization and where women who are interested or who are about to give birth or about to be pregnant might be able to contact you. Well,
I think just to piggyback off what he said, it definitely is about education. Like, we really need to empower ourselves with as much information about who we are, what we are, how things work as possible. I think that the understanding of nutrition and different things, it's lacking. And I think with the support of like doulas and different organizations that are out here.
Which is yours?
Well, I'm more of advocacy. I'm just trying to bring awareness to that there are options. And I think that there is no right way to birth. I think that, the outcome is what is most impactful. We have to do what's comfortable for you. So how do we give voices to all women so that they can, speak up about their experiences, share their wisdom, so that maybe you can make different choices when it comes time for you to go about it. I think if you want to support, money is always important. We have women who have this calling to be midwives and doulas. Support them. It takes a lot. It's time, energy, money, and this is how we truly save lives. You want to bring that information. You're studying nutrition. You're studying, different positions during pregnancy. So Earth's Natural Touch, go pick up online. Reach out to Sayana. There's a GoFundMe page.
And we're gonna put some more stuff on the page too. All right. And I want to just thank all my guests for coming through. Thank you so much. So much more of this conversation that needs to be had. So we're gonna put information on our Facebook page. Please contact them. Come to our YouTube channel and listen to this over again. And yeah, you want to say more?
I just want to put in one thing, because I think you brought up an excellent point regarding what products that we use. So everyone listening, if you go to safecosmetics.org, it is a fabulous website where you can type in every beauty product, hygiene product that has ever been in existence, and it tells you every single ingredient that's in it, and it rates it from a scale of 0 through 5 in terms of toxicity, and it also gives you healthy alternatives. So I know, there's a lot of women that like to get your nails done, and which is awesome, and so do I. But there's a lot of endocrine disruptors, right? Which your endocrine system is your main, your system that supports all of your hormones and your reproduction. But there really are lots of
It's a lot of information.
Options. So safecosmetics.org, just check it out because it will, like I said, give you the toxicity level of some of the common everyday products that most people use, but it also lets you look up, healthier items, healthier choices.
All right, thank you so much. Make sure y'all tune in to the Electric Drum coming up next, 94.3 WYBC.
Equity may be refinanced. Example stock.